The Saabaru is it's missing. It's got some problems right now, and I've been trying to figure out what it is. I think it's the spark plugs, because I replaced everything else, the wires and the coil, and while it helped a little bit, it didn't totally solve the problem. Symptoms are mainly manifest when you are under load, trying to accelerate quickly at a low RPM. And I was trying to figure out why that would be the spark plug wires, and that didn't really make sense, because I don't think it is. I think what's happening is when it dumps more gas into the cylinder, the spark plugs are so weak that they can't explode the mixture. So I'm going to replace those and see if that solves the problem. Just want to show you the components here, just so you have some idea. If you're having that miss problem, could be the coil. That was what problem I had 60,000 miles ago. You could actually see arcing on the outside of it, so that's fairly easy to replace. There's 4 bolts. Just pull these things off. These caps and things are kind of tough to get back in place, and you don't have a lot of room to work, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. That was the first thing I did here recently. That didn't fix it. Those aren't expensive. It's like 30 bucks. Then I replaced the spark plug wires with these NGKs. That made it a little better, but it didn't fix it entirely. And again, it was okay. The old ones were probably at least 60,000. I took them out of the parts car before, and that was 60,000 miles ago. Well, part of the problem with this boxer engine is that the spark plugs are really a pain in the butt to get to, because they're way down low, and there's, if you can see, there's not a lot of clearance between the cylinders and whatever else is next to it, and they're way in there. What I found that works pretty well is if you use your socket and then have a elbow here and then an extension, then that allows you to stick it in there and sort of feed it in like that. And this is really critical. Make sure you tape all these things together, because if you get it in there and it's way in there, and then this thing comes off at this joint right here, and you're trying to retrieve it and it's all floppy, or if this thing comes off in there and you can't get it out, it would be very, very, very difficult to try to extricate it. So it's much easier not to have that problem. Just tape it up really well so that you don't have that issue. So I can show you how this will feed. You kind of, see if I can show it here. You kind of have to feed this in here. It's tougher with one hand. So here, you see how it's kind of going in, and then with that angle there, then it allows you to extend it in there and get a wrench on it. You know, barely. It's tough. It's still tough, but that's the only way I figured out how to do it. Another issue is there seems to be a lot of, well, some oil on the outside of these plugs. I'm pretty sure the oil is supposed to stay inside the engine. That doesn't look good. Let's ignore it for right now and see what happens when we replace the spark plugs. And now I've replaced the spark plugs, so I'm hoping that'll solve the problem. I got to get in and turn the air code off so the check engine light goes off. I'll show you how to do that. So I have one of these OBD2 tools I picked up at a pawn shop for less than 20 bucks. The port for this is right under here, so this thing plugs in there like that. Then you're gonna turn the car on accessory position, and it will scan, and let's hit this button, and it'll show you what your problem is. Okay, so it says 2 codes, and one's a P0302 and the other is the same thing. So I'll show you what the that is. You have to look that up. But for right now, I want to erase it because we've got... Okay, that's good, it starts. Check engine light, and the cruise control thing is flashing. So we're going to hit the erase button. Hold it down. Erase, yes, erase. And then these. Done. And my cruise control thing is still flashing. I don't know why. Maybe that's something separate. Okay. Well, let's drive it around for a while and see if it fixes itself. Alright, just to finish up here, it is all better and fixed. It wasn't quite as easy as that. I got the spark plugs replaced and it was still throwing a misfire code, cylinder 2. So, and I think cylinder 2 is over here. What I started doing was switching the spark plug wires, so just switched those around to see if maybe it was a spark plug wire. That wasn't it. What it ended up being was I hadn't ever tightened down the coil here very well, and that needs to be tight against the block so that it's grounded. It gets a good ground, good electricity through there. After I tightened up, and there's only 3 bolts, 1, 2, and then there's 1 down there, none on that side. Once I got that tightened up, all 4 cylinders were running, strong spark, and it's run. I erased or took out the error codes. Check engine light went off, hasn't come back on again since. So, you know, if you're getting that misfire, it's probably one of those 3 things: the coil, spark plug wires, or the spark plugs. And you could fix that by yourself, can't you?